Africans and Africans in diaspora. We educate minds and we touch on trendy issues. I'm your host, Dr. Tayo Oweye. On TouchPoint today, we continue our discussion on crossing borders and the journey of an immigrant. Today, we're looking at the issues concerning emotions, culture, and identity of an immigrant. And I have my guest with me here in the studio, joining live from Manchester in the United Kingdom, Mr. Olusheye Oyeleke. He was here last week, and we want to continue our conversation on the journey of an immigrant. Mr. Olusheye Oyeleke is an architect, an interior designer, and a project manager. Sheye, you're welcome once again. How are you doing today?
Thank you very much, Dr. Tayo. I'm doing very well. It's nice to be here again.
You're looking good. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
And if you want to join in the conversation, you can join us via WhatsApp, text us, or send a voice note on +44 7518 47 6633. Once again, +44 751 847 6633. You can also join us live on our YouTube platform on Jambo Radio Scotland, or message us on our Facebook, Jambo Radio Scotland. On X, which is formerly Twitter, we are at jamboradio.scot, and on Instagram we are at jamboradio.scotland. Or you can also email us at info@jamboradio.co.uk. Send us your comment. We would like to hear from you on the topic crossing borders, navigating emotional, cultural, and identity of migration. Back to our guest today, Mr. Sheye. Sheye, we talked briefly last week on the issue of emotion, culture, and identity, challenges on crossing borders. Can we dive deep into it today on the emotion, on the issue of emotional challenges that is related to immigration? You said last week, just to put some context, you said last week that the issue of emotion are hardly talked about, even on social media. And I've read quite a lot of research concerning this, and there are plethora of researches concerning the issue of emotion on social media. What would you like to say concerning emotional challenges of immigrating to a new country?
Oh, thank you for that question. Like I said last week, there's a whole lot of things bundled up when it comes to immigrating or being an immigrant or immigrating, and the emotions that linked with it. There are a lot of things. I mean, for an immigrant, that journey is complex because there are a lot of expectations. You have a lot of anxieties. You have a lot of PTSD, or even depression in many cases, because of high expectations, either getting a visa approval or the journey itself, raising the funds, or the entire process can be overwhelming for some people. Sometimes even sense of failure can be one of those emotional issues for many. Because just imagine somebody who has gotten to a country, he has spent 1 year, 2 years expecting to get a good job, get good pay, maybe live in a more conducive environment, but things did not go as planned for so many reasons, and social media is full with examples of that. So all of those things put together make it very stressful, and it's not being talked about as advertised about how it's interesting to move to another country and start a good life. So yeah, it's a big issue.
Yeah,
Okay,
well,
that's cool.
we made mention about family. How is it? What are those significant insights into the emotional challenges that families go through in terms of migrating? I mean, before migration, and even when they had actually migrated, there are even some families that leave some people back at home and they
Mhm.
come around here. What is the emotional impact on families and on individuals?
Yeah, it's tremendous. So I'll give very brief instances. So you have cases of some people who maybe came into the country as students, having to leave the kids or maybe the husband back in the country, and they spend long period of time apart from each other. That puts stress on whoever is in the other country. Or you have situations where the entire family has moved over to the country and their roles have to change. The time they spend on work, the kind of activities they do has to change. So imagine if the wife, for instance, for a family, is the wife that is doing most of the spending more time working and bringing more of the income. That is a big shift from where they've come from. And how do you deal with that? It might seem like, oh, it's fine, no problem, but it's for the husband or for the men, it's not something they are used to. So when those roles change, it affects them because they begin to think, how do we do things together? How do we put things together? You have even the kids, for instance, they they all have their own role to play depending on individual situation as families or as single people or even a young couple. Many of these things are you get to understand them and fix them as it goes. It's not, oh, you've planned this is how my life is going to be when I move to the UK, and you all move and it's all nice and rosy. For some people, it is if they have money to fund a lot of things, but for many, it's not. So, changing of roles, changing of responsibilities, getting into a new environment, learning the culture, and trying to adapt into that environment puts stress on the family.
Yeah.
So, it is difficult for many to understand how to come to terms with those changes and allow themselves to not be overwhelmed with the stress that is associated with
I mean,
relocating.
there are quite a number of misconceptions towards the issue of immigrant emotional experiences. I did
Mm,
more of a scoping study sometimes last year, and seeing families that moved, either the wife came here for academic um, stuff, then
yeah.
the husband is back at home trying to look for a job. That shift in role that you made mention of, how, how do you explain that? How would a man feel that I'm just at home? I mean,
So
our
let me give
people
some
will
bit of
say
context.
yes.
Mm. Let me give a bit of context to what you're saying. As a Nigerian or as Nigerians, we take pride in the man being the head of the family, being responsible. And not to say that women do not provide or they are not caregivers in families. When you take that out from a man or you take that responsibility from a man, it makes him feel less. And if you're from different parts of the country, how do you respond to that emotion is quite different. So I mean, we've seen the news about so many issues with families who have just relocated within the last 2, 3 years to the country, and many of those news or informations online are not very interesting. They're not very good. So I feel many of these things happening are a response to those emotional traumas or emotional shock that they are experiencing, and they need to let it out in some form. So yes, it's a new thing that people need to learn, and it needs to be discussed more because the more people are aware about it, it's easier for them to get prepared to plan themselves and understand it's not just the idea of moving to a country where things seem to be better, you get a good paying job and you seem to be okay. All of these little details about the emotional stress, the change of roles, the involvement, the active involvement, and the conscious engagement with other people who have experienced this process so that they know what they are getting themselves into and prepare themselves to deal with it when it does happen.
And this relates to the issue of culture shock, and I'm seeing comments online that talks about these are the issues of culture shock, and in terms of the man, or let's look at those coping mechanism that people are actually embraced. What are those mechanisms in terms of coping mechanisms, in terms of emotional challenges that they are actually utilized?
Yeah. So coping mechanism, it's a bit complex because I mean I can speak for myself as an individual. I can speak for my family. Um, I can speak for people I know around me. But again, we need to realize that while everybody's making some of this move because they want to get higher education, some have plans to get better paying job and have a better life. The the journey is not quite the same for everybody, and how they start that journey is different for all families. So everybody's saying yes, I'm moving to the UK, but how they started their journey and where they've gotten to, if everybody's to tell you their story, is quite diverse. So to answer your question about coping mechanism, it has to first, you need to first understand what my challenges are as an individual, as a family, and what my situation is at the moment. That understanding makes it easy for you to know where to get, how to work around your coping mechanism. I mean, coping mechanism could be something as just having support system around you, people who are close to you, people who have gone through the process and understand what you are going through and give you good advice. Sometimes it might just be getting to know exactly what you're getting yourself into, like I said earlier, from the start before you get into it. So I think possibly if there's time, I can talk about counseling. For some other people, it's also being able to communicate effectively with maybe family members, their partners, to understand and to actively understand what are we facing right now, what is the emotion we are facing, what is going on with us, how do we plan to work around these things. Those conversations help build stronger bonds, keeps the family stronger, and it's easier that way to cope with true challenges. Some people have found it very easy to meet up with maybe church groups in their community, or they link up with other people they know that have moved to the UK, family members. Some even look for houses or try to move to stay with others in the UK in clusters to help. So some of these things do help. But again, for me, I think it starts with the individual first actively understanding what they are going through, where they are at on their journey, then being able to know the right support system. I mean, even in the UK, the NHS is a good support system. We have a lot of mental health issues and support programs in place. The fact that you're in the UK gives you access to some of these support groups. So it's something I don't know if a lot of people know aware, but it's something that is being pushed by most councils, many of the NHS hospitals in their community, that they can get access. Sometimes some people just need people to talk to. That's so coping mechanism for each person is quite different, and it depends on your situation and your circumstance.
But a lot of people do just keep to themselves around. I mean, we come from a society that we share some of our problems, and here it looks more of individualistic. Oh, mind your business. I don't want you to know what I'm doing. What will you say to people who are like, I don't want them to know that I am here, I have traveled, and every other thing?
Again, like I said, it starts with what was your journey. How did your journey start? We live in a very conservative society here in the UK. So I'm not surprised if people come into the UK and seeing how isolated they become. Nigerians or Africans, we are very communal. So I'm out there talking about a lot of things. But the trend has been over the years that when people want to migrate, and I think I mentioned this even in the last episode, people don't want to talk about this process. They don't even want others to know that, oh, I'm leaving my country to another country. Or some have even arrived before they call home and say, oh, I'm out of the country
Mm,
for several reasons, and some for good reasons. Some, I mean, it's up to the individual.
mm,
But then we all need to understand that where when you understand the society you are going into or you are moving into by
mm.
doing your research, getting to ask questions to know this place I'm going to, what is the culture like? What are people like? How do they live their lives? How do they communicate? How do they express emotions?
Mm.
Again, it prepares
But,
you.
but do you
Um,
think? Okay,
yeah, go on.
but do you think most people will actually carry out that research before they move?
So I've this question you asked, I've sampled different opinions around, and unfortunately, the answer is no. Not so many people do that, and I think one of the reasons that came up was because people are focused on that journey of traveling itself, the whole process of getting your visa in place, getting all those things. They're more focused with other things like, oh, getting accommodation, where am I going to have, getting a job, So
Mm.
those basic needs are the things a lot of us focus on, and not these kind of details. I mean, we can also say, oh, there are a lot of information online to research, but uh, it would make as much sense to you unless you're experiencing it or somebody's telling it to you, then you just read it. Even if
Mm.
you do read it, it only makes as much sense as you imagine it to be for yourself.
Yeah.
So
Mm.
again, so there's that gap where you can do this research, you can find out stuff. But unfortunately, even if we wanted to do a research, I don't think a lot of people do that research because they're really not focusing on that aspect of things rather than the basic things of surviving and getting to settle down in their new
Yeah.
environment.
I,
So,
I,
um,
I read a particular um, paper, a research, and
yeah.
gave quite a number of emotional challenges, and
Mm.
talked about the feeling of being disadvantaged when you are here, when you've traveled out. I mean, if you're back at home, you are at an advantage in all ramifications. I mean, all things being equal, you are at an
Yeah.
advantage. The perception of life satisfaction, are you satisfied with what you are
Mm.
going through? Anxiety and depression, and most especially, there are cases of vulnerability.
Yeah.
How do you express or explain this, and how people are really navigating that terrain of depression, anxiety? Will tomorrow be okay? Do I need to go back home? If I go back home, what will people say?
Yeah. So those I love. So again, these things you've mentioned are still tied to the whole emotional journey. The journey is not only I've left my country, I'm in the UK. It's also staying in the UK till some people want to stay for the rest of their lives. Some just want to stay for a period of time and go back to their home country. So the journey for everybody is quite different. Now, to the point you've raised, there's PTSD, there's depression,
Okay.
anxiety, there's stress. What causes all of
Yeah.
these different
Okay. Yeah. Mm.
issues, emotional issues, are different for everybody.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Um.
if somebody was to go to Nigeria, yeah,
Yeah. So, Shay, can we just
yeah,
pause there? We'll have to go for a
okay,
break. We're going to take it from that example of, if someone were to go back to Nigeria, is going.
okay,
I mean, it's something interesting. The emotion of going back to Nigeria and even staying.
yeah.
Um, our viewers, we're going for a break right now. We'll be back shortly.
On your mobile phone and on all social media platforms. Jambo Radio.
The excitement is building up as the date for the groundbreaking, first-of-its-kind conference in Scotland gets closer. With 30 employers signed up, 20-plus speakers confirmed, and 500 delegates to attend. Welcome to the #IamBlack conference. The #IamBlack conference is a groundbreaking event focused on unleashing the power of black talent and employer brands in Scotland. Employers from various sectors, including finance, technology, engineering, legal, healthcare, arts, education and public sector, will have the opportunity to engage directly with new talents, learn about the changing trends within a diverse talent pool, discover, attract and retain new talents, and build relationships within the black community in Scotland. The #IamBlack conference is a full-day programme of inspiring keynotes, insightful panel discussions, game-changing masterclasses, and networking opportunities. The #IamBlack conference is on Monday 29th April from 9 a.m. to 4:15 p.m. at the Technology and Innovation Centre in the University of Strathclyde on George Street in Glasgow.
Need security? Call Alpha One Plus Limited, a strategic security resourcing platform that connects you with licensed security personnel. We cater for our clients' security needs, from manned guarding, door supervision, event security, all the way up to close personal protection. Alpha One Plus Limited, your one-stop security solution. Call now at 44-074-2526-7909 or send us an email on info@alphaoneplus.com.
Established in 2006 as one of Glasgow's original mobile massage therapists, we deliver high-quality treatments with the ambition to forge permanent relations with clientele. We specialise in on-site massage, a type of treatment that has been specifically designed to complement the convenience and availability of massage at work. It is performed with the use of a specialist mobile chair, without the use of oils or the need to remove clothing. At Massage and Glow, we believe that massage should be a part of your everyday lifestyle. Regular massage not only relieves stress and tension, but also stimulates blood circulation, can help with pain management, and promotes good mental health. A must for your busy schedule. Various holistic therapies available. Contact us now on 07530 905 152 for your mobile massage therapist.
Welcome back to TouchPoint on Jambo Radio, a show where everything matters. And I'm still on with Mr. Sheye Oyeleke, live from Manchester, and we're talking about crossing borders, navigating emotional, cultural, and identity issues in migration, the journey of a migrant. And Sheye was talking about when you move back home, or the idea of moving back home. Sheye, would you like to touch point on that?
Yeah, so the point I was making about going back home is a lot of people that travel back, there's that sense of security because there's some financial stability that comes with that. And apart from that, what major attachments do they have? So if your journey is to come over, do certain activities, get yourself settled, and you want to go back to the country, people start asking you, what are you coming back here to do? For others, the journey is, I am moving and goodbye to my own country for different reasons. So it's your journey and where you think your destination, your end destination is, affects how you process all of these things. People don't want to even be known that they've moved over to a different country, and they want to keep it quiet because others feel like, oh, when this person is abroad, let's take advantage of them financially or in other ways. So there are problems associated with those things, but how we navigate it again still comes back to these individual situations, analyzing what the problems really are and seeing what works for me best. Because if I don't do that, I don't protect myself mentally, then it becomes part of the stress, and that becomes part of the emotional issues that people face. And so you hear people say, "Oh, now it's only a few members of my family that know my actual location," which is sad, but that's the reality of things. And I'm very sure there's hardly any Nigerian who you ask about this and he says, "Oh yes," because there's always there's even sentimental reasons or spiritual reasons why some will tell you it's better not to tell others.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it adds to the stress. It adds to the stress, which is unfortunate, but that's the reality of things.
I mean, you are probably just echoing that proverb that if your yam are sprouted, you use you use both hands to cover it.
Yes, to cover it.
To cover it. But someone says that your yam never sprout very well. If it blows, that you may not be able to use your hand to cover. But there is a comment online by Olakunle Ogubameru. Some people keep their movements away from other people to avoid the financial pressure that people put on them. We have forgotten that those who traveled spend a lot on different bills. I mean, that's so powerful.
Very true. Yeah. I used to say to people that if half the population of a particular country goes to the UK or come to these big affluent countries and spend 3 months and go back, half the phone calls many of them make to people in diaspora would reduce. Because it's hard to explain to somebody when you say, "Oh, I'm working 40 hours, I'm working 44 hours, I'm working 60 hours every week." It's hard for them to comprehend because they don't understand the way they work over there and the way we work here is quite different. So when you're paying bills and your financial transactions are in a very structured manner, which is one of the things you'd have to learn after migrating to a new country, they begin to think of you like, "Oh, you're being stingy, you don't want to give, you don't want to be very helpful." But the reality is no, it's not that, but everybody's trying to acclimatize, everybody's trying to stabilize themselves in a new country. So for the first 3, 4, 5 years, it's not very easy to say, "Oh, I'm sending this home." Some people are able to, but it doesn't work the same way for everybody. So when you have family members who do not understand what you are going through, it adds to that emotional stress. It adds to even the PTSD that you go through. It adds to that sense of failure, of not being able to fulfill the demands and needs of people back home. So it's a lot, but again, you can only be realistic with yourself to the point of understanding how much you can do, knowing what you think is best for you and sticking to that. Because if not, I mean, you end up breaking down and you become more of a liability to even yourself and people back home.
Yeah, I want to touch on the issue of identity and migration. How does the process of immigration impact an individual's identity or the sense of identity? I mean, there are challenges within that. So what we have to say about immigration and the sense of identity?
So the sense of identity starts with knowing yourself, starts with your culture, starts with your skin color, your language. I mean, those are factors that make up or build up what becomes your identity. So I am African, I am Black African, and I'm Black African because of my skin color, right? Other things that add up to my identity or anyone's identity is their level of education, their profession, their class. Now, for someone who is moving to a different country, it's you dropping many of these things. So if you're coming as a student, and you're moving with your family. So, for instance, maybe the wife is coming to study or do maybe a master's. The husband most likely has to leave his possibly good paying job to relocate with you. It means that the profession that adds up to his identity is taken away from him or is lost. The children have classes of friends, they have their level of people they move around with. All of that ends because they have to start all over again. Their skin color becomes, in Nigeria, we don't talk about skin color because we're all the same. But you move to a country where you have multicultural environment and you have different skin color. It becomes a topic. So, many of us were not used to having those conversations about skin color, but now it is the thing. Like you're now in an environment where you have to actively talk about it. It plays into everything you do, the kind of job you do. Even job interviews sometimes, the houses you rent, the places where you live.
Yeah.
You can imagine how uncomfortable it might be for you you being the only black person and living in an environment of 300, 400, 500 other people who are all white.
You're even lucky.
Sometimes
you're even lucky to have gotten a house in that place.
Exactly. In that place. So many of us relocating end up having to leave many of these things that form our identity behind. Because again, the journey is they are going somewhere to start all over. You're looking for a new job, you're looking for a new school for the kids, you're going to be making new friends, networking with new people, and many of these people are people who are not even possibly black. They are not of the same skin color with you. They're not of the same class and profession. So yeah.
When you made mention about making new friends, what are the language barriers? Now oh my God, that's another thing entirely. Depending on where you are in the world, if you happen to go to China now, how do you understand, how do you navigate the language barriers? There are times that I have to hold a younger person, either my daughter, around, and they speak the language now just within how many years, and I'll say, so what did they say?
What is this person saying? I struggled at some point. The people I was working with, they were white, British. There were some were Indians, some Asians, and for everybody I was talking to, I would always tell them, please slow down and slowly repeat yourself and just talk to me very slowly so that I can understand what you're saying. At some point, after a while, I would even use my phone translator thanks to technology. But those things might not seem as anything. They might seem very laughable now. But imagine being on the job and somebody is spending 10 minutes having a one-to-one meeting with you, and half the things he has said you can't understand. How do you function? So you begin to either second guess yourself or guess what it is you need to do. It changes over time because you begin to understand. You begin to gradually come to terms and understand what people say. But things as simple as language can be a barrier for many. It can even cause anxiety for a few people. So yes, it was hard. Personally, I struggled for a bit, for a couple of months, even just to get a job. And you pick up the phone and somebody is talking to you and saying, "Oh, we want to book you for an interview," and is asking you, "Where are you from?" I said, "Oh, I just moved into the country as an immigrant," and the phone goes dead almost immediately. So so identity thing, making friends is quite difficult if depending on your environment or where you are, but it changes over time, so it's not all bad, and you get to meet great people.
Now I can hear some of their
all over the world.
Now I can hear before when they speak, you just laugh. Ooh, as if you probably understood what they were saying.
Yeah, that's right. I just laugh at them.
Yeah, but let me quickly read some of the comments on YouTube. Okay, I'd read Professor Olakunle Ogunbameru's comments. Oyinlola Rotimi made mention of Billings' fear of unknown village people. are reasons people quote their relocation. These are just comments. Community Illuminate says, Mr. Shea, thank you for the statement. People need to be realistic with their situation to face the challenges that come with migrating. And Afemi Awosomi said, many are deceived by what some friends post on social media. That's something you probably need to quickly touch on. Unfortunately, what many of those posts do not reflect, they do not reflect the realities of what they are going through. What would you say about some of those posts? I mean, the pictures of someone posing with Lamborghini. I mean, you have the opportunity of test driving cars here. The cars that you probably not drive around. I've received
for the next 10 years.
Yeah, I've received messages, come and test drive cars.
So I was in London last year February, right? And the car that was parked in front of the house I was staying in for the period I was in for holiday was a Ferrari, like very, very posh car. I could as well just walk up to that car, take a picture and post it on social media, and everybody starts calling me and saying, so social media, again, I think I did mention about this, like a lot of people posting things about this immigration thing. Oh, come over to the UK, come over to this country, you can get education, you can do this, you can do that, you can get a job, and guess what? Many of them are doing it to make money. So it's not really about you. It's about them pushing an agenda and pushing a product, which is the social media product. So if we do not start calling these things out, it becomes a problem. Because I don't know why somebody, it's unfair for somebody to stop his life, sell his property, do a whole lot of things just because they want to relocate on false expectations. They come here and it's not what they expected to meet. It's not what they've heard or what they've been told. You could do a lot of research, but when somebody who is here in the UK is telling you do something, it's different from when somebody in Nigeria is telling you the same thing to say, oh, go to the UK, life might be better. You know? So I think we owe it to ourselves, we that are here in the UK or in diaspora all over the world, it's not just UK, to really educate people, to make them realize this is what you are stepping into. So we need to create that forum. We need to create like this kind of talk show where we talk to people or we talk about this kind of issues. We enlighten ourselves and let people realize that reality is reality. And you're not coming to a country where you will say, God will provide for me. I mean, God will provide if you work. It's not based on sentiment. This is a data-driven economy. This is a technology-driven economy where everything you do, you have to account for every hour you spend. So I think it's really important that we push a narrative of telling people on social media or even those social media influencers to come out there and see what is real, and not all of this messages about you can. I don't know, but we need to do better.
Let's quickly touch points on how do immigrants negotiate their cultural heritage with cultural norms and values of their new environment. I mean, there are so many factors: race, ethnicity, sexuality, nationality, intersect. I mean, with those issues around the sense of identity.
So for
how
identity,
do we navigate it?
The first question I'm going to ask myself is, who am I? Or what makes me me? Now, as a family, what makes my family what they are? As a group, what makes us? As a Yoruba person, as an Igbo person, as an Hausa person, as a Nigerian, what makes us us? Do we move to a new country and lose all of that identity because we're in a new place? The answer for me is no. So it starts with understanding who I am. It now moves to understanding this new environment I have found myself. What are their norms? What are the norms? What is the culture? What are acceptable? What are not acceptable? That helps you form the basis or the foundation to now develop and grow into who you think you should become. So as a people, as Nigerians, or as people in diaspora, I think again, it is for us to actively and consciously decide what we want to create as our identity. And this touches on almost every part of our lives in terms of even our jobs. I know of other people from other cultures of other parts of the world, and they move to other countries and they create this very close-knit unit and help themselves grow and develop. I don't see why we can't do that. Yes, there are challenges doing that, but yes, it helps us maintain and grow that identity of how we are. As Nigerians, we're allowed people. We like to do things in a communal way, but unfortunately, we seem to have lost that moving here because everybody's trying to adapt, everybody's trying to acclimatize, everybody's facing with their struggles and all. So it's unfortunate that it's not as much as I would have loved or as we should be, but the reality is it's something we need to consciously do. Sexuality is one of those big topics, but again, information is key. If you understand where you're going to, it becomes a question of, oh, this is what it is in this place. What are my choices? What are my options? What are the limits I want to draw for myself to say this is how far I can go to make that change? I mean, we can't change people. We can only work on ourselves to either accommodate, accommodate others, accommodate other ideas, or decide to say, I can compromise a little bit up to this point, but these things, like for instance, I still wear my native clothes attires to social gatherings because it's part of who I should be.
And
I still eat my local food. And
they love
people love it.
When they see you wear it, they say, wow, beautiful colors.
Yeah, beautiful colors and all of that. So those things we should be proud of because many of them here travel to other African countries, other countries on vacations to see these things. So it's nothing to be ashamed of. Our food makes us who we are. How we do things makes us who we are. As long as it's within the law and it's within the norms, I don't think it's something we should run away from. So that will help us build the identity we are looking for.
Okay, so Shay, let's quickly touch point on counseling. What will you say about getting counsel about migration? Before? Or probably when I've gotten the visa, that's when I should get the counsel. That, I want to travel, counsel me. When should we seek counseling? Is it before getting visa, before starting the whole process, or after it, after getting the visa that you want to travel?
Before, during, and after. And I'll tell you why quickly. Before is you want to know what to expect. During, so that you are doing your processes correctly and set the correct expectations for yourself.
Definitely.
After, because when you now get into that environment, it's easier when you have counseling to navigate your way around things. It saves you a lot of headache. It saves you a lot of emotional stress. It helps you get yourself grounded into that environment a lot easier. I mean, a lot of things personally I knew a year after moving to the UK. If I had known it before I left, I would have saved myself a whole lot of stress. I can't go into details, but those little things, those kind of counsel is very important. My only caution is, please make sure you get counsel from the right places. Not every information is good information. So we need to be selective as well. We need to be active, and we need to be very, very vigilant to read in between the lines, because not everything that people say are true. If people are going to use it to push their own agenda, then it can become harmful. So that counseling is important. It helps all of us. It helps anyone through the process, but it needs to be the right information.
Let me quickly read a comment here. One is Olale Akinwale made mention that there are foundations that, referring to the issue of changing things where you are, that there are foundations that should never shake, but there are other things that I might not realize could be done in a better way, and observing the new society may make me a better person. There is that room for observation. There is that room that you don't do what we call lao. You take it easy, even when you are in a new terrain. Look, research,
look,
before you jump into into anything. And as we wrap up, Shay, because we have just a few minutes to go, please, if you still have comments, kindly go on our YouTube platform, get the conversation going. We are here and we'll also be with you on that platform. Facebook is there, Twitter is there, X is there. Then you can also join the conversation on Instagram. As we wrap up, Shay, there's this question on my mind. What do you believe to be the most pressing issue or challenge related to emotional or cultural dimension of immigration that needs to be addressed?
That's a loaded question. We need to address how immigrants fit into a society and how people who are relocating have access to basic things of life. I mean, I can almost everybody can relate to how it is to even rent a house as an immigrant. The first 2, 3, 4 months of relocating is hell for many people, if not everybody. So as an immigrant, emotionally, all of that process, relocating and settling down, affects you. It affects your sense of identity, because when people look down on you, even with your money, you're begging to rent a house, you're begging to do a lot of things that should come naturally and normally. Then it begins to raise questions of how do other people view us? How welcoming are they? Yeah, the UK is a very welcoming place because I stay in the UK, so I can't speak for everybody in other countries. But
is it everywhere in UK that is welcoming?
Well, the majority, the most part of the UK, yes.
Just to clear the air.
Okay, very well. But again, we need to. I think we owe it to ourselves to help people who are coming in understand what they are going to be getting themselves into, how processes work, and what the expectations should be, so that they set those realistic expectations. If not, emotions become a problem. Depression will become a problem. Loneliness will become a problem. Broken families will become an issue, and we're already seeing evidence of that. Sense of failure becomes an issue, and all of these are all interlinked because it's all part of the journey. It's all part of the journey. So I think those things need to be addressed really quickly.
On a last note, just a minute. What advice would you give to someone planning to relocate now? Or someone who is already here? Look, for someone who is planning to relocate and someone who is already here.
For someone who is planning to relocate, please set the right expectations and get as much counseling as you can get and understand what you are getting yourself into before you start. For those who are here, please give yourself time to grow. It's a process because a journey will start. It's a process. It might not end. It might not go as you plan, but allow yourself time to grow. Set realistic expectations and just keep being consistent with whatever it is you're doing. We'll all get there and we'll all get what we're looking for.
Thank you so much, Mr. Oluseyi Oyeleke. It's been 2 weeks of what we call Glasgow concerning the journey of an immigrant. Yeah. It's thank you for coming to TouchPoint. We know whenever we call you, you'll be available for us. And I want to thank my producer, the team, the Jambo Radio team here, my producer, Tosin, T Crown, and Baby, and my researchers. Thank you so much. And that is it for this week, ladies and gentlemen. Until next week, believe in your infinite potential. Your only limitations are those you set upon yourself. Please keep the conversation going on our YouTube platform, Facebook, Instagram, and X. We'll be here to keep the conversation going. So until next week, we're bringing you something powerful next week again. Just watch out for the announcement. I'm still your host, Dr. Tayo Oweye. Join me next week for another exciting and trendy issue. Until then, I say keep bubbling. Bye.
on your mobile phone and on all social media platforms. Jambo Radio.
The excitement is building up as the date for the groundbreaking, first-of-its-kind conference in Scotland gets closer. With 30 employers signed up, 20-plus speakers confirmed, and 500 delegates to attend. Welcome to the #IamBlack